Hey everyone, we've got a brand new sponsor.
BagsUnlimited.com.
BagsUnlimited.com has a huge catalog of vinyl supplies, from record sleeves to storage boxes to cardboard mailers, record bags, and more. Whether you're just starting your collection or you're already the biggest record shop in the state, you can buy your vinyl supplies direct at BagsUnlimited.com.
And now, on with the show. Welcome to The Vinyl Guide, the podcast for record collectors and music nerds. Here's your host, the biggest record nerd of them all, Nate Goyer.
Well, hello, everyone. It's Nate. Welcome to, what episode is this? Oh, dear Lord. Episode 463 of The Vinyl Guide, the podcast for record collectors and music nerds. And this week, dear people, we are welcoming Lee Loughnane of the band Chicago. Lee's a founding member of that outfit. He was there at the group's earliest stages, recorded their debut in 1969, and here, some 55 years later, Lee is still recording and touring with the band. So, little backstory here. In 1971, Chicago was rising in prominence and were booked to play a concert at the just-completed Kennedy Center, essentially being the first band to play there. And this event was recorded and tapes stored and nearly forgotten about. So now, some 50 years later, Rhino Records is releasing a 4 LP or 3 CD set of this performance. There are some teasers online, one of which is really cool. It's the first performance of the then future mega hit Saturday in the Park, which was just freshly written, and it debuted at the Kennedy Center before the band recorded it and the rest of the world heard it. Now, you can get the vinyl box set at store.rhino.com and check out the tour dates at chicagotheband.com. They're touring at the moment with Earth, Wind, and Fire, and a quick Google of those shows is quite outstanding. So make sure to catch them if you can. And hey, if you like records and hearing tales directly from the artists and more, then you gotta follow the Vinyl Guide podcast in your podcast app. It's simple. It's free. It ensures you catch all the great episodes we have, some 450 plus available anytime, including Joe Bonamassa, episode 453, Managing the Miles Davis Archive with Vince Wilburn Jr., episode 452, Dweezil Zappa stopped by, episode 445, producer Jack Douglas sharing tales of his time producing John Lennon's Double Fantasy, Aerosmith, Cheap Trick, and more, episodes 439 and 440, and hundreds more episodes and interviews. It's free. Just hit the follow button in your podcast app, and you're all set to enjoy everything the Vinyl Guide podcast has to offer. All right, with that, let's get into our conversation with Lee Loughnane of Chicago.
Good morning.
Hello.
How you doing, Nate?
Good, Lee. Thanks for making the time. And we're here celebrating many things, including this 1971 Kennedy Center recording.
Yes.
And I'll put the links in this episode page. And really, just to start off, Lee, 100 million records sold. 47 gold and platinum records, 70 songs that made the charts. You're inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And now you're talking to me. So my big question is, what did you do wrong?
Everything is right. Everything. To be able to do what we're doing this much time later is like unprecedented. And I mean, even a dummy like me can figure that one out.
Well, you couldn't have been too dumb to navigate all those choppy waters.
It's been up and down too. When we first started, there was a time where the you can do no wrong period. And when that ended, which we never thought that it would for some reason, I mean, it seemed like it was so easy. When that started getting a little more treacherous, then we had to start figuring out how to navigate through problems, right, and then come back up and always at points where the career started getting a little sketchy, one of us would step up and do more. And that got us through it somehow.
Right. Well, before we talk about the Kennedy Center recording, let's go back to the beginning, which is kind of around the time of the Kennedy Center recording anyway.
Sort of.
So the band starts out and playing with some incredible legends: Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin,
Right.
several others. I think if I'm not wrong, uh, Jimi opened for Chicago Transit Authority. Is that right?
Jimi Hendrix?
Yeah.
Oh, no, 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 no. It was the end of his career. He was selling out arenas,
Oh,
and,
okay.
and we opened for him. We
Got
would
it.
come out and play a short little set, the new up and coming band that he wanted on the road with him, and the audience was going, "Well, we want Jimi, we want Jimi, we want Jimi." We were going, "Hey, shut up and listen for a while. We got a few songs to play, and then we'll be done. And then Jimmy's coming out." But that gave us our foot into the business, Jimi and Janis, and that was like their last hurrahs. Both of those tours. I don't think they toured much after that, if at all. And Jimi died shortly after that.
Hmm.
So, which was very unfortunate because we were looking at. He was talking about using us on his next record.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay. Far out. Oh, that would have been incredible. Yeah,
it would
that
have been
especially that
something
horn
different.
ensemble. Right.
Yeah, it would have been something different. That's for sure.
It's funny. Tomorrow I'm talking to Eddie Kramer all about the making of Electric Lady Studios.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much that he would know about that because it was just Jimi talking to us casually.
Sure.
I don't think there was anything ever specific put down. It was, "Hey, I want to have you guys on my next record," that type of stuff.
I
Right?
think Jimmy said that to a lot of people. Hey, let's jam. Let's
I
get
wouldn't,
together.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Now, interestingly enough, we had Billy Gibbons on at one point, and
Okay.
he was talking about how Jimmy used to take a record player, a stereo system, on the road with him, and he had two
No
burly
kidding.
guys that would haul the thing around, plus his
Oh
record
my
collection. You remember
God.
that?
No, no, I can't imagine him actually really doing that though. That would be so cumbersome.
Hmm.
You think he really did that?
I don't know. He's Jimi Hendrix. He was doing all sorts of things.
I didn't see it, but we were in Holiday Inns. That
Yeah.
we'd go into his Holiday Inn room, smoke a joint with him, and talk. "Oh my God, we're sitting here with Jimi Hendrix." Ooh, you know.
Did you ever do any jams? Did you ever join him on stage or do an improv, or even practicing in the hotel? Any of
No,
that? No.
Terry might have, but I don't think he did either. Terry really wanted to play with Jimi.
Now, Jimmy was a big fan of Terry's, from what I
Yes,
understand.
exactly.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And just, wrapping up that kind of part with Jimmy and Janis, what are the sort of things you learn from working with folks like that, especially earlier in your career?
Well, you learn that they think like everybody else. Uh, how long are they going to be able to do this? Uh, why are they in the position that they're in?
Mhm.
See how happy they actually are with how their career is going, whether they think it's going up or down. They're human, and that's what you find out.
Okay. Taking away any life lessons, that both of them seem to be in pretty good positions in life and career at that point. So I would
And
imagine
they
it would be
were,
encouraging.
except Jimi was upset that he kept playing the same licks over and over again.
Uh,
I think Terry got to the point where he was doing somewhat of the same thing.
hmm.
And I don't know if I don't know how you keep going further with the extent of greatness that those guys were already at. I
Mhm.
mean, Terry played something different every night, but because he played similar things during the course of a solo, he felt he was playing the same licks. And I think Jimi Hendrix was probably thinking along those same lines,
Yeah.
and being upset that he wasn't being completely new every time he touched his instrument. You know, you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? He was
Yeah.
relying on things.
There seems to be a trajectory, and it's certainly Chicago has followed it, where the band went from an audience that were very accepting of high improvisation to
Yeah,
having hits and developing an audience who wants to hear the songs as they are on record. So,
that's exactly right. And we still do that now. And we have, like you said, there were 70 hits that charted to the top 40, right?
mhm.
And not many people can do that. And we don't have enough time during the course of a show to play all of those songs. nor would they actually really want to hear all of those, because in a live performance, the the reason we play the songs that we do are because they work every night. And we put them in a certain order to build the show. So it starts on a high note, and then you bring it down a little bit, and you just sort of adjust it. And then, hey, how you doing, folks? Hey, have a good night. We're going to play a bunch of hits for you, and then move the show along. By the time we end, we're back up on the high note again. So the whole point, and it sounds good enough where for 57 years, they've wanted to come back and see it again. Hear it and see it. And we're putting the show together. So by the time we get to the end of it, it leaves everybody on a high note, and they really want to come back and see it again because we've done well. There's 3 out of the original 6 members of the band still out on the road live every night. And that's half of the band 57 years later, which is, I think, probably unprecedented.
That's good.
Yeah. Not so bad. And the guys that we have brought in to complement the rest of the band are so good, and they grew up listening to the same tunes. So, and we allow them to put in their own personality and not try to make them play. You got to play exactly those notes that were played on the record, because that would handcuff them, really.
Yeah.
They get to play the same tunes that they grew up with, their versions of how that went. And a lot of times they come in and go, oh, that's what that chord was. Ooh, sorry. And you know what I'm saying? They learn the correct versions of the tunes, or whatever it is, but they get more comfortable with playing with us. And it's working great. And this particular band, what we have now, I think it's been like 4 years or so that we've been together, which is longer than most bands are together anyway.
Right.
I mean, just the newest guys in the band have been 3-4 years already. And we're not gonna stop anytime soon.
Yeah, well, that's good. And you guys are touring with Earth, Wind, and Fire, which must be insanely great. All those horn sections together. Tell me a little bit about working with Earth, Wind, and Fire on this tour.
It's another band that has a legacy of songs like we have, that they survive on their own concert tours every year, no matter what. And they pull in a lot of people every night. And they want to hear them over and over again, where they keep coming back and want to see it again. And it's great playing with them. They are experienced musicians. If something goes a little bit awry, doesn't stop anybody. We just keep going. We start at the beginning of the song, we go to the end of the song, and that's when it ends. There's no, oh my God, the computer stopped. Oh, hurrah. The computers are there to enhance stuff that we do on the stage. You do things that like fill out background vocals and stuff like that. But if the computer goes off, we keep playing.
Right.
That's how it works. The song's not over yet. You keep going until the song ends. Right?
Or the power goes out.
And then you play acoustically.
Yeah. Well, with the trumpet, you don't have to worry too much about that.
That's right. We still don't stop. We did that in Las Vegas one night. The power went out completely. We were doing beginnings. We kept going until the end of the song.
Yeah. If you stop playing, they may not pay you.
Good luck with that.
So I'm going to tell people they can check out the tour dates at chicagotheband.com. I want to go to this Kennedy Center recording, because it's quite remarkable. This recording is now this new album. There's a 4 LP version and a 3 CD version. It was recorded in 1971.
Correct. And I don't remember how it was recorded. There must have been a recording truck, because we were just showing up, doing a sound check, and then playing the show. And have you heard it already?
I've heard it. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. So when you listen to it, you realize that Saturday in the Park was just being written, was a brand new song. That was, in fact, we played it for the first time on that show. And Peter Cetera sang the lead vocal at that point. So we hadn't decided who the lead singer was going to be on the song. We were still sending it back and forth to different guys to see how it would sound the best. And obviously, Robert ended up singing the song. And that's one of the signature songs of the band. But to have Peter singing it was really strange for me the first time I heard it. I had forgotten that we had the Stones to practice new material for the next album while we were doing a prestigious gig. This is the first time a rock and roll band had played that venue. It was a brand new venue. And we were just going, okay, it's another show. We're going to get ready for the next album. And we were practicing our songs. And like I said, that was the time when we could do no wrong. We could get away with virtually anything and it would be accepted. So very strange.
Was it common for you guys to debut material before recording it? I mean, what was the writing process? Okay.
Okay. It was very common. And as a matter of fact, even after we recorded it, we were still adjusting the arrangements while we were on the road. So it didn't sound exactly like it was recorded after the record came out. The thing that does remain the same is the arrangement of the horns, because if we started trying to improvise every night, there's no horn section. You can't. Three guys can't go up there and start playing solos. You got to play the arrangement like any other big band did before and now or forever after. You got to play the arrangement, and then when you play solo, you're on your own there. So Terry and the rest of the rhythm section, they took sometimes too many liberties with changing up how they were going to do it, and they didn't always gel with each other. And so you never knew from night to night if Danny was going to play, what kind of fills he was going to play, if he was going to end up on, 3.5 and not quite 4, and then start back on 1, hit that cymbal crash on 1. He might start on 2 of the next bar. We'd have to turn around and see when that cymbal crash was going to be to figure out where 1 was,
Well, there's some charm to that, of course. You got that human element.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how would the band write material? There was a rehearsal space. You would kind of chew it up, work it through as a band, and then do a few gigs before recording. Kind of how did it typically? I know it wasn't 100% that way every time, but how did it?
No, a lot of times the song would come in on a little cassette. We'd listen to the cassette. Most likely there were some charts, basic charts that were written. Jimmy might have come up with a basic horn part, and we'd start playing the song. Just count it off and play. And the singers would not sing initially. We would just play the track down over and over until we start getting that. Then we'd add the background vocals and leads.
Okay.
And usually we were on the road, or even when we were off the road, the singers didn't want to blow their voices out, so they would wait to sing the lead vocals when it was like on, when the red light's on,
Right.
And that's the way it went back then.
Mostly written in Holiday Inns, it sounds like.
A lot of that, yeah. Jimmy wrote the Ballet on the road, and he was still writing the Ballet while we were recording it in 71. The Ballet came in the second album, right? Yeah, so 69, 70.
There's like 4 albums in that.
I know there was a lot of playing, a lot of writing, a lot of recording,
and they're all Roman numerals too. Your band taught me Roman numerals.
Well, Chicago Transit Authority, that whole story about the bus line. Yes, they did threaten to sue us because of using the name. I think Mayor Daley sigged them on us and said, "Get these hippies out of there. They're giving us a bad name," or whatever. They were angry about something that we did. So we changed it to Chicago on the liner notes of the first album. If you want to call them anything, call them the city that they came from, Chicago. But people were thinking that we were CTA, Chicago, and Chicago Transit Authority. And a lot of people thought it was three different bands. Mm-hmm. So it helped ultimately to change the name of the band to Chicago and just leave it there. And then after that, we named each album Chicago. That's why the Roman numerals came in, because they had to differentiate the records from one another. Mm-hmm. And the second album, which is now Chicago 2, was only Chicago. Right. And then the third album became Chicago 3, and Carnegie Hall was Chicago 4, and so on.
I guess he's lucky you didn't change your name, the band name, to Mayor Daley.
Correct. Mayor Daley 2.
Now, so it's still like there's still Roman numerals, even when you have albums named Hot Streets and things like that. There's still a Roman numeral.
That was at the point we were trying to change from the Roman numerals. Okay, let's do something new, something different, and we tried Hot Streets, but that was 12, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, what are you going to do?
There's still a number to it.
People wanted. They liked not only. We also did a survey to see if they wanted our pictures on the record, and they liked the logo better than the pictures, which I think eventually, or retrospectively, worked for us, because the logo is what sells the band.
Yeah. Tell me about that logo. That logo's been with you since very early day. I mean, really, kind of album one. It's there, and it's like Coca-Cola.
It's exactly, and it was probably, I think it was stolen from Coca-Cola, because you can see the similarities in it, right?
Well, there's enough difference. If any lawyers are listening, there's quite a bit of difference there.
Well, it's been 57 years, so if they were going to come after us, they would have gotten us by now. So it has worked great, and we are now preventing other people from using our logo, and they're going, "Oh, you guys are still together? Come on. We sold 100 million records, and this is worldwide, but you still have to go into court and convince people." It's really bizarre, and it happens a lot where the logo is abused or used without our permission.
You guys may still be playing when that logo slips into public domain.
Yeah. What is that? 75 years? Is that? I think it's like 25,
90. I think Disney pushed it out 90? To 90, something like that. I don't know. We had to ask a lawyer. So, do you remember who created that logo? Where did that come from? What's the origin?
That was at CBS Records. That was. I can't think of their names right now, but it was the record department at CBS Records, and Nick Fasciano, I believe, was the guy who came up with the logo. And there were two guys who did that stuff back then, and Nick was one of them. And he has come to shows since then with family and grandkids and all of that stuff. It's amazing that the legacy that we have built with people and records.
Yeah. So the CTA album comes out, the very first album. It's a double album, which I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but your first album being a double album on a major label, that's a big commitment from a record label to go into that level of, two records right out of the gate means you got the support of the label.
Hey there, all you record nerds. I want to tell you about BagsUnlimited.com. BagsUnlimited.com has a huge selection of vinyl record supplies. Whether you collect LPs, 7-inch singles, 78 shellacs, or anything in between, BagsUnlimited.com will sort you out, from polyline sleeves to cardboard record mailers to 7-inch storage boxes and archive quality record sleeves. Protect your records of any size and shape at BagsUnlimited.com. Whether you have a small personal record collection or you're running a massive record shop, you can grab a small supply or even buy in bulk at BagsUnlimited.com. And they've got some really incredible, unique stuff. BagsUnlimited.com even has special size sleeves made especially to protect your box sets, storage boxes and sleeves for cassette tapes, protective supplies for reel-to-reel, and yes, even 8-tracks. Just go to BagsUnlimited.com, click on Audio Supplies, and prepare to be impressed by all the options they have. That's BagsUnlimited.com. Hey there, audiophiles. If you're seeking stylish furniture to showcase your stereo and record collection, well, look no further than SidetrackedWorkshop.com. Sidetracked Workshop designs extraordinarily elegant record cabinets and consoles that add sophistication and panache to your music hobby. Handcrafted in the good old USA in the vinyl-loving city of Portland, Oregon, Sidetracked Workshop's designs are a music lover's dream. Made with real walnut veneered wood and brass accents, these gorgeous designs add class and taste to the record room and ship fully assembled and ready to enjoy. Just check out the designs for yourself at SidetrackedWorkshop.com. Look, you spend thousands of dollars on records. Don't keep them in a crate, and don't risk your records on those feeble wooden pegs from IKEA. Your music deserves the dignity of Sidetracked Workshop. That's SidetrackedWorkshop.com. Elegant solutions for the vinyl lifestyle. Oh, and hey, record nerds, don't forget to clean your records with the very best and safest record cleaner, the Groove Washer. Make your records look and sound their very best and store them with confidence using the new Groove Washer Groove Guard record sleeves. You gotta try this out. It makes a huge difference to the quality of your vinyl experience. Ask for the Groove Washer by name at your local record store and accept no substitutes. Or head over to groovewasher.com and use discount code VINYLGUIDE10.
All hail the Groove Washer.
That's groovewasher.com, discount code VINYLGUIDE10.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but your first album being a double album on a major label, that's a big commitment from a record label to go into that level of, two records right out of the gate is, means you got the support of the label.
I don't think they really wanted to do that.
Okay.
But the songs were so long, there was only, if we had done one record, there would have been like 3 songs on the record.
Mm-hmm.
So there were probably, I'm almost positive, contractual concessions that we made that we had no idea we were making. We were just playing songs in the studio. So, we trusted our manager to put it together. And I think ultimately, obviously, we're still doing it now. So we worked through whatever might not have been good for us during that time. Yeah. But we just kept playing. And as long as you keep doing good shows, people come back to see you. So that's why we're still here now. So it's always been the strength of the music, I think, that has kept us on the map.
So the songs for the following albums, Chicago 2, Chicago 3, were a lot of those already formed at the time you did the CTA album?
Yes, we had been rehearsing the first album for months and months. When we first came out to California, we had a house on Holly Drive underneath the Hollywood Freeway, mm-hmm. and we rehearsed every day. And most of us lived in the Holly house. And then when the guys who were married brought their families out, they got apartments about a half a block away in the same apartment building. And so we would always, they would come over and we would play for hours and without being harassed by other people. It was amazing. Very few complaints from the people in the neighborhood. So I think that's unusual as well. You usually would go, man, can you guys keep it down? What the hell's going on?
Well, they got the sound of the Hollywood Freeway over them. I mean, it's probably a welcome break.
Well, it was sort of down the block. The Hollywood Freeway was a bit away from us. We were like, you have to go under it to get, down the street to where we lived. Yeah. But I'm sure the music had to be loud. Mm-hmm. It was amplifiers. There was no in-ear monitors back then. Yeah. So there was no what you have now. You can go into a bedroom and record an entire record. No one even knows you're doing music at all.
Mm-hmm.
But then, loud. It was loud.
Yeah, and there wasn't any acoustic treatment. It was just a house you rented.
Exactly. There was no zero. You just play.
So a lot of the songs on 2 and 3, they were already formed. Do you recall how
we
the songs?
we were writing 2 and 3 after. For the first one was the one that was pretty well prepared while we were in the studio. We had been rehearsing those songs for months. When we went on the road with the first album, that's all we knew. We played that every night, and we were adding additional songs. We were doing Beatle covers and other songs that we were still playing from the club days. Mm-hmm. And as we started, and AM radio wouldn't play the songs as we released them initially from the first album. It was becoming successful because we were doing the college circuit across the country. So the colleges were playing the entire album on their stations, which ultimately became FM radio. But the AM radio didn't want to play the records, or said they couldn't play them because we hadn't had a hit yet, which is like catch-22. How are you going to have a hit if you don't play the record? Yeah. What's the deal? And the second album was being written while we were on the road performing the first album. When we went in and recorded it, AM radio had an interest in Make Me Smile. Now, the ballet that came out of the Ballet for a Girl in Buchanan, which was like 14 and a half minutes long. And there's no way that they're going to play 14 minutes on AM radio. So they wanted to extract the Make Me Smile portions out of the song. The beginning, Make Me Smile, and then the reprise at the end, put those together. That was our first single. And in fact, the ending of it still bothers me today, but that's the only way we could get the record on the radio. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the dun 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 dun. What? That's it? You know, but there was no more time for anything else. So we just truncated everything and ended it. One fell swoop. But that became our first hit. Then we went back and re-released the songs off the first album. Then they became hits.
Was there some, I imagine there was probably some time in that first year, but in that cycle before that single, that there was a bit of a question mark. Like, how are we going to keep this momentum up?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't, well, when we were doing the first album across the country, we were writing music, and, you know, we were pretty well assured we were going to be able to record a second album, but we had no idea that there would be a third album, and then that would be successful, and the first album would stay on the charts for a couple, 3 years, you know, and the top 100 or top 200, whatever it was back then, it stayed on the charts, I think, within the top 100 for like 2 years running, and continually selling the whole time. So it was, we didn't know.
Yeah.
We were just playing and having a good time, whatever we thought was a good time.
Well, it sure looks like you guys had a good time. There's now inside that sort of environment, you guys are, I mean, you're young, you got a lot of energy, recording, you're touring, you're starting to get on this sort of success, but it seems like it was also a bit exhausting. I mean, I'm sure there was, you know, this is all kind of the environment leading up to this Kennedy Center recording.
Yeah. Right? Well, you know, youth is wasted on the young. we had so much energy. It was unbelievable. Crazy type energy. And we got away with doing stuff that was probably less than stellar musically a lot of times, because we were just wildly popular back then. And it was the brand new thing. We were the quote color of the month type stuff. And we got away with a lot. And when the Carnegie Hall album came up, that was unprecedented because no rock and roll band had done that before. I think the Beatles had actually played Carnegie Hall, but they went in like one day and they played like 4 or 5 songs. I mean, we did an entire week and sold it out, and played we did I think 8 shows in 6 days.
Yeah.
And then when CBS or Rhino came to us and wanted us to remix all 8 shows, which, the original Carnegie Hall album was what they thought they cherry picked the best songs of the 6 days of the 8 shows. And that was the first out. That was the Carnegie Hall album back then. Me and Tim Jessup took all 8 shows and made 8. I mean, if you ask me now, which one was your favorite, I have no idea. I heard those songs so many times. We heard those songs so many times. It was right through COVID. It took us 10 months to do the Carnegie Hall album.
So it's amazing that those tapes and there was also a recent remix of the CTA album. So you're revisiting some of these formative recordings. Are there plans? Are you similar plans for 2 and 3 and beyond?
I don't think so. Not at this time. Mm-hmm. But that anything could happen, and I would definitely be up for it if that comes to pass. I think Rhino did Chicago 2, the second album, with a fellow from England. I think they did a second version of that.
Stephen Wilson?
Stephen Wilson, yes.
Okay.
Right. So they're probably not going to ask us to do yet another one of those because it's been done. So, but yeah, we would like to have done that as well. They just asked Stephen first. But, it was great to be able to do that and realize that the Carnegie Hall album, we had that youthful energy and all of that exuberance, and we would just, count the songs off and play them. And it was just, we were on the road all the time. So we were so used to playing. We would come in and do a sound check and then play the show that night. I was always worried about, my chops lasting because we did not have in-ear monitors for the next, probably 10 years. I don't remember.
Maybe longer. Yeah.
Probably longer. Yeah. But it was always those monitors that was like, I had to start putting cigarette butts or filters in my ears to save my ears because the monitors were useless. That sound was so loud and so blary that it would go right by your head, and you'd have to stand another few feet back just to actually hear the sound. But there wasn't enough room on the stage, and the distance between the sound of the speaker to where it hit you in the head or the ears to be able to hear it well enough. Everything was just so loud. There was never a time when somebody said, "Would you turn that down for me, please?" It was always up. There was always up. There was never down. Right? Crazy.
When you were on stage, were you positioned in front of Terry or near Terry's amp?
Oh yeah. Well, actually, he was usually in the middle of the stage,
mm-hmm.
and his amp was tilted on an angle so it would hit him right in the back of the head. Okay. And on the other side of his head is a thing called a microphone. So, so when we were mixing those, it was the juggling act to get Terry's vocal out there far enough without bringing up his guitar. So Tim had to do all kinds of weird things to get that guitar out there and the vocal simultaneously.
I would imagine anyone in front of Terry's guitar amp probably would have been deaf after a few. Okay, Kennedy Center recording. So let's talk about this. Yeah. You don't recall it being recorded at all. Did you record were a lot of gigs recorded around that time? Was it kind of a typical thing?
That one, not all of them were recorded. I think probably very few were recorded. The ones that were recorded every night was like a cassette board mix, and then we would listen to that later and decide if we were playing well or not, or what if we wanted to change songs or change arrangements, stuff like that. But never anything of any real quality. Those cassette tapes were
disposable almost.
Pretty much, and still are today.
Yeah.
When somebody comes to me with one of those tapes, it's like, can you do something with this? And the answer really is no. It's a stereo tape with really tiny tracks, and that's it. That's all you got. There's nothing you can enhance there.
Right. So this particular gig at Kennedy Center, it was known it was going to be special from beginning, to have that sort of kind of care for it.
Yeah. So, but for whatever reasons, it was never treated that way afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the reasoning was. If the powers that be at the time decided that it wasn't good enough, wasn't done well enough, I have no idea. That might not even come into the equation. All I know is that it never went further than, yes, we played Kennedy Center. We were the first rock band to do that. We were entered into the archive, the congressional record, and that's, if you look that up, it's probably there now still.
Yeah.
But it was years and years. It was probably 20 years before the actual Icon Award situation started taking place. So we have yet to get the Icon Award. We're getting a little long in the tooth now, so we'll see what happens next.
Well, you're well on your way, I think. Yeah. So, because it's interesting, because in Blue Note they did a lot of that, to where sometimes they just had more product than they could put out. They had some great sessions from like Lee Morgan and Hank Mobley that for some reason they just couldn't get around, because they had so much going out. And Chicago was a band. You guys were putting out a record every 6 months in that period.
We put out a lot of records back then. That's for sure. And it didn't seem like it was ever going to stop. And, like I said, from the beginning, we went, no, it hasn't. But we went from recording the one album, not knowing for sure if we were going to be recording the second album, to getting that one out. And then we had our first hit, and, the momentum kept building, and to where we are now. I mean, we had no idea then, and we just kept doing it, and we're pretty much doing the same thing today. What are your plans for the future? We're going to play a show tonight. Mm-hmm. Tonight is going to be with Earth, Wind, and Fire. We're in the midst of a 30-show tour with Earth, Wind, and Fire, and we got about 9 or 10 of them left. And then beyond that, we're going to play Chicago concerts for the rest of the year, and 2 of which are in Japan. We're going to Tokyo mid-September, and we're going to play a jazz festival in Tokyo. Ooh. And then another show in Osaka. And then fly back, play Hawaii, a couple of shows in Hawaii, and then come home.
You're not going to stop in Sydney? I live in Sydney. It's on the way.
Sydney is there. That'd be great to go there again, but no, not this time.
Okay. All right. Well, look, if it's a money thing, you guys can crash on my couch. It's fine. So when did you rediscover this Kennedy Center record? When did the recording when did it kind of re-enter your view?
I think Rhino really wanted us to put together the Kennedy Center, and they asked if we would do it. And we might have asked them if they wouldn't mind if we did it.
Okay.
No, I think we sort of threw our name, because, we didn't want Steven to come in and do it. Sorry, Steven. Yeah. And you did a good job on 2, but I know where the bodies are buried on the records.
You buried some of them yourself.
Pretty much, yeah. But I mean, where the guys were standing on the stage, pretty good recollection of where that vocal guy is. I only did a couple of little vocals, and I wasn't continually singing or playing guitar, but you had to go search these things out on the multitrack to find them. And it was fun doing that and extracting those things out and seeing if I actually played it well enough. Most of the time, oh yeah, it's not so bad. All right.
How delighted were you when you heard that the introduction for Saturday in the Park? Because that's the first time it was played live. Any outside band member heard it for the first time there? That
It sounded good.
Yeah.
It sounded good. It sounded like that. The track was together for Saturday in the Park. The only thing we hadn't decided on was who was going to sing it. Yeah. But everything else, I think, was done for that. Dialogue, however, was one of the first times we had played that. And I think we had been playing that for a while, but there was no dialogue part 2.
Right.
It got up to the guitar solo. We ended up the guitar solo, and I think the horns played do do da do do da 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 ba 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 ba. We were done. There was no we can make it happen.
Yeah, well, it's still being worked on, but that is again, I was so that is such a fun recording, a piece of history, really.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Now, is there a vault of unheard Chicago songs or gigs that you're aware of?
There was the vault was probably in New York, and an archivist that we hired. Oh my God, he's going to kill me. I can't remember his name right now, but he went in and found the tapes and knew that they were Chicago tapes because he just knew what to look for. Mm-hmm. Brought them back to LA, and he and I sat in the studio, and I was able to tell him what sessions those were. And because a lot of it, we were so busy recording it that the second engineer didn't write everything down, so we had to listen to the stuff and like bake it first of all, so you didn't lose all the oxide as you were playing it, for which would have been the last time. So we had to bake them so that the oxidation would stay on the tape, and we could play it a few times.
Mm-hmm. Do you have all the tapes? Is there anything missing from the Chicago library?
I think we found everything as close to the original tapes as we could get, and sold all of that to Rhino Records.
Okay.
Many years ago. Initially, it came back to us contractually after 25 years. And I'm sure that, one of those things on that original contract, and the rights to the masters for the albums will revert to the band after 25 years. And they went, sure, 25 years, that's good. Yeah, no problem. We'll sign that. Yeah, 25 years. You guys would be lucky if you're together for 5, if that long,
So all the tapes exist, even multitracks, everything still seems to exist.
Some of them are harder to find than others, but yes, pretty much the multitracks are available somewhere. And, we've used them and altered them or, updated them somehow to make them sound as good as possible.
Now, this podcast, we talk a lot to vinyl record collectors. And I would imagine
amazing that vinyl is even coming back.
What's your reaction to that? The vinyl revival, it went away, and then all of a sudden it just roared back.
What's strange is you realize how good the CDs actually sound. Once everyone realized that the original CDs got a bad rap because the record companies, in their zeal and need to put everything back out there and up for sale, we want to get this thing going right away. They used the same masters that they did the vinyl records for, the vinyl masters. They tried to do that and make the CDs from the vinyl masters. And the EQ isn't anywhere near what it needed to be to finish off a CD. There was, the whole spectrum of sound that wasn't covered on the CD. So when they went back and said, they started talking about we remastered them. No, you did it right for the first time, the second time. That's what you did. So you got to resell the same songs over again. is what you did. You guys with the suits, thank you very much. But they just wanted that stuff out there right now. So CDs got a bad rap initially, and ultimately they sound better than the vinyl, because on the vinyl, even with the new vinyl, you have to roll off the bass or the needle bounces around. You put too much bass on it, you're going to catch that thing. Put a quarter on it. Right?
Yeah, I used to do that. 2 nickels on top made the song play through.
Oh yeah. When you go.
So you spend so much time on the road. I would imagine you have quite a big, impressive music collection, but you probably don't get to spend that much time with it these days. Is that fair?
That is fair.
Yeah.
That is fair. We play live shows and get on the bus and drive to the next place. Get ready to do another one. So we have that down.
Yeah,
we know how to do that.
If you don't know how to do it by now, you're in trouble. That's
a lot of trouble.
So I'd be interested to hear some of the music you're listening to these days. Maybe some modern music. What's in your playlist?
Well, right now, Ralph Johnson, he's got a jazz show called the Jazz Epicenter 6.7, and he does it. He makes the shows in his hotel room while they're traveling on the road, and then sends them to a station in LA where they get played. And but he's been sending those shows to me, and I think Jimi Panko, and we've listened to those a few times. He plays classic jazz, Lee Morgan, Biles, Freddie Hubbard, some of the great stuff, and then other stuff and it all sounds great from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond. And it's just really good stuff. That's what I've been listening to most lately. And when I hear like Jive Samba with Cannonball Adderley, those solos never get tired. Oh my God, the greatest solos.
When people ask me the type of music I listen to, it's always jazz and punk rock. Those two genres I think they have so much in common. They're both full of energy. They're not afraid to push boundaries and experiment.
Right.
Clearly,
I never got into the punk rock.
No?
I don't know why that was, but punk rock never hit me. We've always been on the road, so when punk rock came up, we were too busy, and still are so busy working, that I don't hear a lot of the new stuff. And so I don't listen to the radio much at all, not until I go home, and then I listen to the Beatles station and Real Jazz.
Yeah,
I listen to those two stations when I'm driving around at home.
Fair enough. Well, look, Lee, thank you so much for dropping by and talking records and releases and the history of Chicago. Again, it's an absolute honor to have you on the show. I want to remind folks the 1971 Kennedy Center performance from Chicago is coming out in September. I'm going to put links in this episode page. You can go to store.rhino.com. Of course, to see the band, find tickets and all sorts of other fun trouble, chicagotheband.com. And again, Lee, thanks again for joining us, and you're welcome back anytime, mate.
Thank you, Nate. Appreciate it.
There he is, Lee Loughnane of Chicago. Really nice guy. Make sure to check them out on tour, chicagotheband.com. They're playing with Earth, Wind, and Fire, and also that 4-record box set is available at store.rhino.com. And that's it for this episode of The Vinyl Guide. Thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate everyone who's sharing these episodes on social media, putting them in Reddit forums and Facebook groups, putting them on their feeds and tweeting them out or Xing them out, whatever you call it these days. That is certainly appreciated. And everyone who's leaving positive reviews on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, that's a huge help too. All right, we'll be back shortly with a brand new episode. So until we talk next time, get out there and buy some records, people. Cheers.